Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Let's welcome to our new classes in this material for today. We will talk about the academic poster presentations. So in the academic later on, I will expand about one topics that related with the human olfactions and how it could be a benefits in our bodies. And we will compare between the human olfactory with another mammals olfactory as well. So I will share the screen to make the presentation more better. All right, so welcome to the academic poster presentation. So in here, I recite the journal from the John P. Gann, which title is Poor Human Olfaction is a 19th Century Myth. So we will prove that the human olfactions has a lackness. It's only a myth. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Yeah, so I will introduce myself first before I presenting a lot of materials later on. So my name is Arif Rahman, and you can call me Arif. I'm coming from the English Education Department, Jakarta University, Faculty Language of Art. And today I will be the presenter for this materials. Let's get into the new slides. So the first slide is talking about problem identification. So in the problem identification, we will talk very specific regarding the human olfactions that it is according to the inferior rather than other mammals pose. So there would be an assumption from the researchers like the identification from them and how they can develop the arguments according to that time. And researchers have three major claims according to their priorities assumptions. So the first one, they told that the human is non-smellers. So it means that we have no clear olfactions to smell something, to have the odor exposures coming from external. And the second one is the human brain's olfactory is smaller than other mammals like rodents and dogs. So they compared the size of our olfactories in our nose relate to our brain is a little bit more small or tiny than the rodents and dogs. And the third one is the misinterpreted to the human olfactory system. So this is a big kind of the problems in these identifications. Okay, let's talk more deep about the introductions and outlook that we will talk about the human olfaction in this. So there will be 4 points in here. The first one is the human olfactory has a high dynamic on a turbulent side that they will maybe receive another particular like the odor externals exposures. And the second one is the environmental odor has the stimuli to the human olfaction. So basically the environmental odor coming from the external is the biggest reference that they can stimulate the human olfaction it is. And the third one is the role of olfactory and olfactory cues, and it is 19th century myth without relevant theory to current condition. So basically, like what did the researchers said in the previous slide, it's not true because it doesn't relevance with the theory that we're talking about now. And the fourth one is the external problems, which has legitimated human olfactory slackness. So it's something like the assumptions and the people legitimations to some particular of the researchers that they are true, but it's not true in the fact. For example, like this one, the human olfactory is more smaller, so we cannot receive more better the stimuli on the human olfactions rather than the other mammals olfactions. And next, we will talk about the methods, why the journals talking about so much in a particular comparison between the olfactions in human being rather than the other mammals. So the first method that we will talk is coming from the comparative anatomies, and the second one is the human olfaction systems, and the third one is the human olfactions purely. So it resided coming from the history that the religious politics of 19th century coming from France, they begin in the Catholic Church in France. They legitimate three kind of the theories there. Like what I said, in the first ones, like the comparative anatomies, between small size and big size of frontal lobes between mammals. So there is a size, maybe something's like involvement from the size, and the big size, it is like a considerations that you can receive more better or not. And the second one is the human olfaction system. So it's something like when the odor coming from the externals, they receive by our nose, and nose string it into several kind of the hello to our brains, and our brain process it, what kind of the smell it is, what kind of this odor, feelings, and so on. And the human olfaction system cannot be measured the same as micromastic animals because the chemical reason behind the analyzation. So basically, it cannot only depend on that particular explanations, like how we receive their odor, external odor it is, but it must be more clear about the chemical reasons indeed for sure on how we can define that the chemical in a particle of the odors itself. So the third one is the human olfactions purely. So the human olfaction purely includes average of 5,600 glomeruli. So it means that in our olfactions, there are 5,600 glomeruli to receive all the odor system it is. So what is the odor? So means that the odor, it is something like the smell coming from outside that it is commonly received by our nose, like this. So the comparison card of mammal olfactory bulb. So if you see that the statistics say the card said we are not similar with the mouse and the rabbit or like a monkeys and so on, because we are different. We are in this side, meanings that we are having a stimulus, we have a specific reasons to receive all the odors coming from the externals. And next, we will have the results. And the results say that the facts of human olfactory structures are very distinguished from other mammals. So basically, this is true. Like, because the human olfactory structures having a very specific structures, they have a filtering on that side, they have a determining for several kind of the hollow in the nose and string into the row of that side. And it is a very clear with assemblies of the results. The first result, it talks about the each glomerulus have the bulb neurons to entrench the odor receptors and glomerular map. So basically, it's a very crystal clear that our kind of the olfactions is a very, very expansive. It's a very, very attractive to maybe build a receptor according to that kind of the glomerulus. And the second one is that there is a lack of adult neurogenesis in hippocampus and striatum. So the researchers is only talking about that particular adult neurogenesis, because if we compare, not all the humans having the hippocampus and striatums a problem. So it's only maybe for several peoples, not only for all the people. So we cannot legitimate or generalize that all the people having the lack of the human olfactions because the adult neurogenesis it is. This is like the proof our complex receptor, complex olfaction receptors to the side of the neuron stuff. This is a mouse olfactions, and this is the human olfactions, and this is how's the organs on between our nose and go to our brain itself. And next, it would be a conclusions. What is the conclusions of the materials that we talked today? And the first one is the anatomical predictions, that the human olfactory is outstanding with the system of criteria employed. So basically, in between the nose and the brain, it correlates each other. So it means that all of the anatomical prediction is progressing and they are employing each other. And next is the assumption just make the acquisition in estimating ability to not discriminate the standard of human olfaction. So like what I said before, we cannot generalize that the human olfactions is lack only one view, one point of view, but we need to enhance all the things. But if you can see the acquisition in estimating ability, it's a complex structures. We can define that the human olfaction is a better consideration. And the third one is there is a proof of unique from the human olfactory system, such as produce the number of all volatile chemicals with odorants rather than other mammal systems. So basically, it's benefit from the human olfactions doing so. So they can produce the number of volatile chemicals to receive all the external odors itself. And lastly, we have the acknowledgements. So the acknowledgement in this part mentions about the olfactory sensitivity variant. So meaning that all the olfactions in this world has their own variations. This aim to discuss and reduce the negative experiences in expecting human olfactory system with a detail. A, human have the 3 orders of magnitude. So basically, we have 3 organs to receive all the external odors. And with the detail, we are better than the mice and monkeys. And with detail, 3-mercapto, 3-methylbutyl format with all the 12 human subjects. And the second was the finding in some literatures have actualized that human is more sensing drastically to the fruits like banana and others rather than dogs and rabbits to detect the fruit smell. So it's a very clear to prove that our kind of the olfaction is a better rather than the other mammals. And the next one is this like a statistic. The result of human potentially calibrates the magnitude more better than other mammals and provide with a complex human capacitance here. So it basically say that the 3-mercapto, 3-methylbutyl, and so on in our kind of the olfaction indeed. And yeah, lastly, that I would like to say thank you so much for watching my videos. I hope that you can contact me for further and you can gain more explanation about that. Thank you so much, and I close this session.